Brought to you by 24-Second Round.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I'm your host, The Blevins, and with me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much. How's it going, man?
Oh, you know exactly how it's going.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, this is like the 15th take. XSplit officially dead.
What I want to know, and it's not that you're bad technically, but how much longer would it take if your co-host wasn't an IT guy?
The show would have died multiple hundreds of episodes ago.
Right.
That meaning that like we would have gone back into Unleash the podcast and it would have died even earlier and this wouldn't have happened. So
That's true.
even though it's a thankless job being Deathblow, you are the reason that we keep coming back every week. So
I mean, it's not completely thankless. We got fans. They show love.
thankless from me at least.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I don't want your pity thanks.
That's true.
You don't appreciate it, so that's fine.
I don't appreciate anything or anyone, especially not XSplit. Hashtag OBS for life. But let's move right along. We've got a lot to talk about. Actually, we don't, but we're going to. We've got a lot of things to do in a very short amount of time because of the delay. So let's move right into it. Deathblow, did you do anything fun, exciting, or otherwise noteworthy last week?
Well, we've been working as a team to try to get better. And last week, I'm not going to lie to you, we took a little bit of a step back. We got everybody up to Diamond, which was great to do that so early. But we've started to fall a little bit. We had one day where I don't think we won all day. Then we had another one where we were 50-50, and when you're playing in a six stack, you really don't want to be 50-50. You want to be better than that.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't have to be much better, but you're not going to be making progress at a 50% win rate. But nonetheless, we've kind of retooled things a little bit. We're changing things up. I believe, at least for the one day left before the patch hits, we're going to be just stealing Rogue's dive comp, triple DPS, solo Winston dive comp that they run,
Nice.
just because it seems to really fit our roster and the talents and the best heroes of the guys we have. So yeah, that's kind of what we've been working on, going through that, and there's been a ton of Overwatch to watch, so that's always good.
Always good indeed. I actually did play a very small amount over the weekend. I did. It's true.
Oh.
I really did. So my girlfriend's sister's boyfriend and my girlfriend's sister came over. We went to Toronto, but I'll just call him Dan. Dan wanted to play Overwatch. He's like, knew that I had the show. I was a huge Overwatch fan. He's like, I've never played Overwatch. I want to play. And he, for reference, he runs a business that does something with FIFA coin selling or something. I don't know. It's something to do he's like a third-party distributor of FIFA in-game currency or something like that. Something to do with FIFA. And his brother is actually like a relatively popular FIFA YouTuber. So he's like in the video game media space. He's just never played Overwatch before, so he wanted to play. So I go, okay, here, let's just play some quick match, and we'll alternate or whatever, and we'll have fun. I forgot what it's like to play an FPS for the first time. Watching him play, it wasn't the first time he ever played an FPS. He'd played like Call of Duty and stuff, but I forget like how drastic and hard it is to play Overwatch when you haven't been playing for thousands of hours.
Yeah, it's a quick upward learning curve, but I mean, you start really low where there's a lot of things you don't know, so much you need to learn, and things we just take for granted, like what it means when McCree says it's high noon, for example.
Right.
Like that doesn't carry meaning to people in their first game.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing was he'd never used a mouse and keyboard, which is fine because I had a controller. So I'm like, I'll just set you up with a controller. It's whatever. The aim assist isn't on and all that stuff. So it was tough for him, but he got a little bit of a hang of it. And then I tried to play, and I'm like, I'll just use the controller. Wrong. No. I don't know how people do it. Just
It can't
throw
be
that
done.
thing right in the garbage, please. Unless you've got an awesome Scuff gaming controller. We're not sponsored by Scuff, so I'm not going to promote them. I don't know. I owe
Also,
them
it's
nothing.
even if they sponsored us, it would only be for console users. We'd still say it was a terrible idea on PC.
If Scuff was a sponsor, I'd probably use a Scuff controller, honestly, because I'm a sellout.
You're a sellout, but
Hashtag
I
sellouts.
won't lie to you, fans. I won't do it. I refuse.
I won't lie to you. I'm just saying that I will sell out for a Scuff gaming controller, premium, pink, the Blevins tattooed on the front of it. I'm just saying, anyone that works at Scuff, that I will sell. Okay, enough of the sellouts. I've also, on another note, I did play Lawbreakers for the first time. Phelan and I saw Lawbreakers at PAX East, and I wanted to try it out, and it was kind of fun. It was fine. Phelan, I think, liked it a lot more than I did. And, yeah, so Lawbreakers...
He definitely seemed really, really excited about it.
He was.
From what I saw,
And I think,
anyways, on Facebook.
I think it has potential. It just... I mean, it's the same with a lot of games when you first start them. If you don't know what you're doing, the game seems a lot less fun than if you do know what you're doing. So if I put the time into it, I might be able to learn it a little bit better. But at this point, I'm just like walking around getting killed like very easily. But I got a little bit of a hang of a couple of the characters, and it's like, this is all right. It's like, why don't I just play Winston and Zarya and Roadhog and Tracer and Genji and my friends? Why don't I play with my friends instead? So I'm not looking for another Overwatch game in the same. I do like it better than like Paladins and the other stuff that are like Overwatch clones, and this doesn't feel like an Overwatch clone at all. It just feels like a similar game, a different but similar game. But
right. So just to clarify, make sure still rocking 0 of 10 on the placement games. I think
so. Moving right along,
I think you've earned a shame bell. I think every week you haven't played a placement game yet. We're getting a shame bell out of you.
All right, hold on. Let me It's sad because I have to play them. But
Right. That's my favorite part about this is I have to tell you to do it, and then you have to listen to me. It's so much better.
Yep, I just shame-belled myself. Okay. Fair enough. So let's move right along to what did you guys do last week? Honestly, not a whole heck of a lot of stuff. If you guys ever see something cool on the internet, tweet at us at High Noon Podcast on Twitter if it has to do with Overwatch, and more specifically like competitive Overwatch especially. Tweet at us, and we'll probably talk about it on the show. But the one cool thing I saw, actually right before I opened up the stream and started broadcasting the show, was an article posted by dbltap.com. I know almost nothing about this website, but a fan of the show and fellow Overwatch podcaster, Okay It's Rosh, was rated the #1 female Overwatch streamer. So kind of a cool thing. Someone that I know, at least in internet terms, got a cool thing said about them. So definitely awesome. The link to that article is in the show notes. Definitely check that out. And
Yui.
I was wondering why Yui wasn't on there. Honestly.
Not even on there, by the way. Just throwing that out
Almost
there.
as much of a blunder as when the Score Esports didn't have Pluppy on the top 10 Overwatch players of 2016.
It's pretty close. And all my fanboyishness aside, definitely deserves a shout out. Not mentioned in the article, but definitely, a very, very good female streamer for the game of Overwatch. Pretty much fully committed to it at this point, though sometimes a variety streamer.
Yeah, I rarely see her on other games.
Yeah.
So, yes, definitely. There's probably more. I don't know anything about this website. I don't know anything about the author, but I just thought it was kind of cool that something got published about someone that I kind of know. And it was in a good light. It was in a good light, unlike all the things that have been written about me. But let's move on to one of our favorite segments.
Overwatch Today, meme of the week.
So much a favorite that we even have a button made for it. It is, of course, the meme of the week. And we got a pretty good one from the Overwatch Today Instagram page. It's a picture of May, and it says, "The world's worth fighting for," and then it cuts to Peter Griffin saying, "Shut up, Asian Meg." So definitely, if you guys are in the game for Overwatch memes. Check out Overwatch Today on Instagram. The page just, I feel like every day I see like another milestone that he's hit. So good for him. Also has a podcast and a bunch of other stuff, Discord, all that good jazz. Pretty sweet and good for him. Huge, super, I would say definite super fan of the show.
Yes.
So much so that he got his own segment.
Yes.
And if you guys want a segment made after you, just contribute to the show without any sort of thought or hope of recognition or anything for multiple weeks at a time, literally months and months at a time, and eventually we might, if your stuff is so good that we mention it every week, it might just be easier for us to make a segment out of it. So just saying.
That's the template for how to get a segment here.
That is exactly the template. And speaking, actually, there's no smooth segue. I was just going to say, speaking of something, and it wasn't even going to be a segue at all. But we actually have a couple of goals that we want to talk about. Actually, it's just one goal. It's one thing only. We want to go to BlizzCon.
We really do.
Death has never been to BlizzCon.
Yeah.
I've been to two BlizzCons, right? Is that right? Or was it 3?
You've been to at least 2. I know that.
I think it's 2. It's definitely 2. Yeah, it's definitely 2 BlizzCons. I'm planning on going this year one way or the other. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But Deathblow wants to go. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be saving all of our patron funds. We're going to be at least saying right now that we're going to try to do some streams, try to raise some funds for a trip to BlizzCon. And we're going to be doing the media pass thing. So all that stuff. Guys, if you want to help us go to BlizzCon, check out patreon.com/highnoonpodcast. I'm going to do a whole revamp and update all the stuff. Some of it's a little outdated. But check that out. Check out any streams that we're going to be doing. They're going to be on all of our social media pages. All the funds are going to be going towards getting us to BlizzCon. And if...
and we're going to meet you guys. So if you guys are going, let us know ahead of time. Give us some notice. We'll try, if we have enough fans that are going to be there, we can park ourselves at a bar nearby or something one of these nights
and set up a meetup for sure.
for sure. So if you guys are going to be there, going to be in the area, definitely let us know so we can try to plan accordingly and help us make sure that we get a chance to spend a little time with each of you guys, because I know we love to meet the fans. I haven't ever met a fan out in the real world, but the Blevins has, and it's a great feeling when you guys like stop us in game or something like that. We love that. So I also think I Play or Andres from the Omniclab is going to be at the BlizzCon, or at least he's making an effort to go. Rob won't be able to make it as he lives in Japan now, so a little bit of a different trek for him. But yeah, we're really excited to meet some people from the community and meet our fans. So if you're going, if you want to help us go, help us make sure, like you said, check out Patreon. But no matter what, if you're going to be there, let us know so we can make a time to meet you.
Yes, and also it helps out a lot to. In whatever way you can, share the podcast, let people know about it, let Blizzard know about it, because we are going to be applying for those media passes, and if we can get media passes, that's just going to be great. It's going to help us out a lot, and we've been doing this for a long time, and if Blizzard doesn't like us, then we're still going, we're still making it happen. I'll fight every single person at Blizzard. You heard it here first, folks. I'm gonna fight everyone at Blizzard at BlizzCon. Just kidding, but definitely helps us out and all that stuff. Also, the Payload podcast people are gonna be there. Know them, so maybe I'm getting some ideas here. Maybe we can get a little like Overwatch podcast meetup thing going on. And a lot of these, I know a lot of you guys are fans of multiple Overwatch podcasts. So maybe we can get a little something going on. We'll see, but we got to get there first.
Well, if we organize it, we're doing it at noon, though. You can count on that.
Why?
What's the name of the show?
Got him. You thought I was serious. I was for a second. But let's move on to an actual... Oh, one other thing, and this is much less... Actually, I'm not even going to bring it up. Let's just move on to another one of our favorite segments. It's tournament talk. Kill. So let's run through these really quick. So we've got the Apex tournament. Surprise, surprise, still going on. The playoff, the top 4 is not even set yet. So what we're going to do is just say, hey, it's still going on. And we'll update you guys once we actually have a playoffs to talk about or the finals. We'll let you know when it's happening and all that good stuff. But I'm not going to tell you about the top 3, and then so it's just a waste of time.
Yeah. Next time, if you want us to keep talking about it every week, rig it so that Envy makes it all the way to the finals.
Or Misfits.
Don't take Envy next time. Actually, I lied. Don't take them. Let's leave them here. Let them be an NA team.
Take LG Evil. But we did get a much more condensed tournament this week as well. One of our favorites, the Alienware Monthly Melee, where we saw Rogue, Selfless, LG Evil, and Immortals in the top 4. And we saw the new, what did we call them? The new wave tier 1 of NA Titans, Rogue, come out on top against Selfless 3-2.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk going into this event about Selfless. A lot of people felt they were the number 1, NA team, the strongest team, and really we haven't seen them play a ton lately. So it was really nice to see them fulfill those expectations. There were some tweets from players. One guy jokingly was worried about whether or not he'd be kicked out of a game for being AFK because he spent so much time in his spawn room respawning and scrims against Selfless. So it was a lot of fun to kind of see some of that stuff go through and get to see these guys in actions. And they're really impressive. Selfless, a team that's not new to the scene by any means, been around for quite some time, but, maybe a little bit quieter, doesn't play in absolutely everything and has been dark for a little while. So great to see them get back in the mix. Really just showcasing how deep the talent is on the NA side of things at the moment. Obviously, it helps that we're importing everybody from Europe that has talent and can move. But nonetheless, I mean, it creates these phenomenal tournaments where, you look at the entire list down the line. We had Runaway come in from Korea to play on their terrible ping and play on the NA season. It did. But, when they play against, and I don't remember exactly, but there's something about like, they played against a West Coast opponent in their first round, right? I think it was Immortals, I want to say. Could have been Selfless, actually. I can't remember. They played them both like back-to-back the first 2 rounds. But, when you play a West Coast team and then you have a Korea team, they put you on East Coast servers. So there's a little bit of a ping share. So it's not quite as drastic as you'd think, but obviously it's worse, coming from Korea as opposed to the other side of the same continent. It's obviously going to be a little worse. And it did show. You could definitely see their skill and their talent, but I don't know that it mattered enough. I don't know. They lost to the Brazil Gaming House in the bottom bracket to exit the tournament right away. And nothing against the Brazil Gaming House, but they were the kind of one truly unknown to me that I wasn't very familiar with. So I would have really liked to have seen them be able to take that down.
Nice BGH in your tournament, idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it.
And
Brazil Gaming House.
I do get it. That's their acronym. It's a good one. But yeah, it was what it was, though. They came in, they did well. Obviously, it was a huge disadvantage, but they agreed to it and knew it coming in, and they did not fare too well. So be very curious to see. It still just kind of, to me, builds up more hype for that moment when the BlizzCon championships or something happens, when they end up on LAN versus our guys and all of them, like the full field. That's what I really want to see, and to really kind of judge the differences between the 2 regions, because right now it looks more like there's stylistic differences than it does. There's massive skill gaps. So I'm very excited to see how it plays out in the future. But for the time being, Runaway, they went 1 and 2 in the group stages, and then made an early exit once things went to the bracket.
Can we talk about how the people who I would have, or how the team that I would have picked to be in the finals of the tournament went 0-3? LG Evil, like what? Yeah, what's going on? They've
did
been
not go
untouched up until
unfortunately
this week.
unfortunately, a lot of what happened with them, I believe, happened off stream. Alienware is one of those events where they don't show every single matchup in the group stages, and we saw a good amount of Luminosity Gaming in the group stages, but I think it was only like maybe one round. They only play three. They all play each other within their group once, and then the group stages end. So I think they only got one on stream, but nonetheless, they finished in the top four because after going 0-3 in the group stages, they beat Fnatic in the bracket, then they beat FaZe, and then they beat Immortals, who they previously lost to in the group stages. So, a really impressive run for them at the end. They did fall to Luminosity Gaming one round before.
Selfless.
Yeah, I'm sorry, to Selfless Gaming, one round before the finals. So it was a tough go for them, but they managed to do enough, right? I mean, it's
they
so
did
strange
fight their way back
because
through it.
Spoiler alerts, they're still undefeated in Carbon, so it was really jarring to see them kind of skip a step in the same meta they played all week of Carbon on. So Carbon series has been a little disjointed as far as like it's not necessarily evenly distributed. All the teams don't play the same number of matches every week. They had to reschedule, so maybe they hadn't played in a little while and were a little rusty. I don't know, but for the time being, at least, I mean, because they went on such a run, we don't have to sit here and talk about are they losing a step or anything like that. They managed to hold serve or shoot at par, but not obviously repeating for the third month in a row in the finals, which was definitely their goal.
Right, and it's really kind of awesome to think that we're starting to see enough Overwatch played by the same formed teams that we can be like, oh, is this the end of this team? It's like, no. It's like if a good baseball player goes 0-3 on a night, it's not like, oh, is Mike Trout, is he done? Is he a bad baseball player now? It's like, no, they just had an off night. Like that happens. The best players still go 0-3, 0-4 sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely happens, and it's nice, like you said, to kind of have some of these sample sizes that are large enough now where we don't have to panic too much, but LG Evil kind of doesn't have that sample size, right? I mean, they've been very active since forming under the Hammers Esports banner. So it's a decent size sample size, but it's not like we have for Rogue going back to, I mean, since the trade, really, if you want to look at this 6-man roster.
They haven't even played that many matches since they since the trade, right? They went on a huge hiatus.
They were dark for a while and they moved, so they had a little bit of an issue there.
Right.
Kind of the same thing NRG is going through right now, where they signed 2 players, IDDQD and we were talking about Winghaven before. That's not who it is. Numlocked, right?
Numlocked,
they're bringing in both of those players.
Oh yeah, Numlocked is definitely on the team, but is he new or is he?
He's new. I'm pretty sure he was the stream I was watching this weekend where he said, we plan to compete come April once IDDQD and myself have moved to the States and have joined the team.
That makes sense. Oh, yeah, right, because he used to be on Dignitas / Old Creation Gaming RIP.
Yeah, so it'll be exciting to see now, and even thinking about that too, we've got all the Apex teams back. We've got NRG going to be coming back with a much better roster than in appearances across the board. Dream teams don't always work out, but they're doing their best to assemble that right now, and it'll be really great to see them come back into things.
Yes, it's definitely still waiting for it to happen. I want there to be a rejoining before Overwatch League. I want to see what's the next big tournament that's like Envy, Misfits, Rogue, someone out. I want to see the top 15 teams be in a tournament.
I think our best chance of that's going to be Pitt.
Right.
It's going to be a little different, but I mean, it's going to be very much like the Atlantic Showdown was, where they play out the 2 different brackets, then meet up on LAN. So we won't have all 15 on LAN, but you'll have really all the top teams, barring, with a couple small exceptions. I don't think we saw NRG on the list, and I don't think we saw Envy on the list, but I think even Selfless qualified for Pitt. We're not going to talk about the qualifiers today, but we'll look at the final team rosters going into that tournament before they get started or right after they get started, either way. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a little while. Obviously, I definitely want there to be something with so much money attached to it that they can't say no, and they just have to make do with whatever the current state of their roster is and make a run for it. But we'll have to wait and see. For the time being, Pitt's the one on the horizon that looks closest to that.
Right. I just want there. I don't know. I want there to be like I don't know, like Red Bull Esports NA championship that just brings in everyone, or maybe or like the Atlantic Showdown, something like the Atlantic Showdown. I think is what I'm looking for, where you have offline NA EU tournaments and then bring in like the top 16. Have a huge bracket. Oh man, they messed up. They could have done They could have done something with March Madness. They could have had 64 teams play, and then March Madness it down. Top 16 playing a LAN. You have the different conferences. Man, they messed up. We should have done this. We should have had the high noon March Madness, and just said, "You guys get paid in Blevins bucks," and we would have gotten. So we could have got. I think we could have got it.
10 million Blevins bucks.
Whoa. They're not worth nothing. Yes, they are.
I was gonna say. I think that might be like overvaluing them.
That is true. But yeah, they could have done something with that. But let's move right along to the Carbon. Got the standings. Do we know how many more weeks they're going to be playing? They got to be coming up soon to the playoffs. I think
this is the last week of the groups, so we will see things kind of flesh out a little bit more coming up. I don't know for sure what form. I can't remember basically what form the finals will take for Carbon and the last playoff. I do believe it's on LAN. I think the teams will be going out to join the casters who've been living in Denver for a month now, and so I mean it should be very soon. I don't think there's any more than this week of Carbon matches. So.
Gotcha. So if you guys are listening to the podcast land, you might still have time to check out the last day of
tonight.
Open.
Yeah, tonight. If you're listening the day we release the episode, Wednesday, you have the last night. Assuming I'm correct, I'm not looking at hard and fast information there. So
right, but I mean they've played 8 matches so far. So how much more could you really play? But let's run through these. As Death alluded to earlier, LG Evil still untouched at 8-0. We've got Renegades at 5-3, Immortals at 4-4, Complexity 4-4, Liquid at 2-6, and LG Loyal at 1-7. So, and this is a type of tournament too where you play a lot of matches and you play against the same teams. So you also get used to not only the metagame but also how this team specifically play. So it's really no surprise to me that LG Evil, even though they did lose in the group stages to Immortals, it is no surprise to me that they were able to, under the pressure of being eliminated, beat Immortals, because they've already played them, I think 2 times? Maybe it's only once, I don't know.
I think it's 2 though. I think you're right.
I mean, they end up playing them twice, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So yeah, this is right. So there's probably, if this is the last week, each team will have played every other team twice for a total of 10 matches. So, and you play a lot of games. I mean, you play against the same team over and over and over again. Like, you get used to that. You get used to their play style. You get used to what's good, what's bad. You very easily see, like, oh, they're handling this Winston better than they did before. Let's change up the Winston. Like, you can really get to that, like the nitty gritty. It's like the pitching report in baseball. It's like, okay, we know that this guy throws a really mean curveball. Like, let's play around that. Like, let's look at the tape from what we did before. I mean, it's entirely possible that you could literally look at the game tape. I would be surprised if teams were doing that at this point, but it's the type of thing with Overwatch League, we very well may see that. Especially
I think it would be a big mistake if they weren't already doing that. But like you said, it becomes very it's a weird word to use, but the metagame becomes very inbred in a small tournament like this with 8 teams. And like you said, it doesn't become about what does the community as a whole think about Bastion right now in the metagame. That doesn't matter. It's what do these 2 guys that I'm going to play against this week think about it. And I've got 4 weeks of records and spreadsheets. You should, if assuming your org's pulling their weight, they should have somebody doing this research for you. and gathering all that data so that you can use it and reference it. And there's a reason it's not public, but it's one of those things where I'm very excited for the league to kick off, because then there'll be the stats API on the website, and we can access this information, and we can break it down and analyze it, because it'll be available to us without doing the legwork that the teams have to do together
and documenting.
Yeah,
stuff.
like it's at the end of the day, right now, the stats that are being formed from Captain Planet and Winston's lab, these guys are sitting there watching it and pausing it and going, all right, soldier, tracer, like writing it down or typing it out and tracking the minutes. And okay, somebody switched, pause. How long is that? Okay, great. Somebody's doing that legwork, as insane as it sounds. And once the league gets started and the stats API hits, that should all just be browsable and filterable on a website.
Yeah, the API being released and accessible is going to be really sweet.
That's where the fantasy football guy and me just gets to go crazy on numbers and analyze everything. I'm super excited for that.
So good. But let us move right along to
let's break it down.
Breaking it down. We got some stuff. One thing I put in here, but I realize is barely even news. New team. It's called Laser Kittens. The former bench boys. Couple of noteworthy players on here. We've got Kib, Winghaven, Gray, Zapri, and Nesh. I mean, at least like Winghaven and Kib and
Zapri's definitely been around. Nesh is a name we should know, though he hasn't been around as much as some of the others. And Gray is new to me.
Okay. Not a completely unknown team, but they're forming for the Overwatch Pit Championships, which is kind of cool. So, I mean, I guess people are taking the Pit seriously for making teams for it. Although, I mean, really probably not a better time to do it, because you want to get set up for Overwatch League, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But barely newsworthy, but they still made it. But the thing that we definitely wanted to talk about is this new tiebreaker system. Def, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So if you have been living under a rock and you didn't know, 2CP maps are drawing way too frequently. And it's something that Carbon has really noticed because of the format of those matches. If you play on all 5 game modes, or all 4 game modes, and then there's a decider. I don't 100% remember how it breaks down into the 5. But anyways, the 2CP is like the second one, and there's a ton of draws on it. We're seeing draws on Kings Row, Hollywood type maps as well, and too many. They've made efforts to try to get rid of these draws in the past, and they're making more steps to, rightfully so. I do think it's definitely happening too much. It doesn't like trigger me like it does some people. Like, I don't care that there's a draw. I mean, ties happen in sports. It's not a weird concept to me. So
they don't happen in a lot of sports, though.
And not as often as this, right? Like it's much more rare. I guess coming from
hockey,
football, where it definitely happens, but it happens twice a year. It doesn't happen like crazy.
Wait,
it
there's ties in football?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, 100%. It happened. There was the other year, maybe it was this year. I don't think so though. There was like weeks 1, 2, and 3 all had ties in them, and it was just really weird to look at all the records with ties.
I didn't even know you could have ties in football.
Of course you can. Touchdowns are worth the same amount for both teams, and there's a finite amount of time.
Oh.
There's an overtime, but if nobody scores during the overtime period, or the overtime quarter, then it
it's
ends.
not like the Super Bowl tiebreaker.
Right, yeah. In the playoffs, they just roll the next overtime too. Go,
I thought that's how it always was, but that's irrelevant. I'm just ignorant.
That's okay. Ignorance isn't a bad thing unless you deny it. But yeah, so it's been happening too much, and everybody is pretty much in agreement on that. So they're going to basically try to make progress that you make while capturing a point as a tiebreaker, much like distance traveled before the checkpoint is a tiebreaker on payload maps. They want it to work that way for 2CP. It has created a bit of a problem, and I do think it's a deal breaker level problem for this particular implementation of it. And what they've said is that all you have to do is 1%. If you got it, if my team gets it 15% and we don't take a tick and it falls back down, then 15% is our mark. And once you hit 16%, you win. Well, there's a video out there, and it's in the show notes. If you guys check those out, you'll see a link to it in there where it takes 24 seconds to end a round on Eichenwald because the team full held them at 0%. They never left the point with the other team on it, so 0% was ever captured. And they opened the round by stealthing as Sombra at the spawn door, running past the entire team through the new pathway that they opened up on Eichenwald, getting around the point, standing on it for 1 second, and the round ends. And in theory, that's not a problem, right? Like the logic behind making this change is fine. It's just so awkward from an esports perspective watching it to see that happen. And just, I mean, what if the commentators don't immediately recognize the Sombra? Like, do they have? It's not like they have a lot of time. Like, somebody could be in the middle of a story in between rounds and want to wrap it up, and it takes 24 seconds to end it. That's too fast. People won't know what happened. It'll be confusing.
Right.
It's not unfair. It's not a balance problem. I just think it's a spectator problem.
Right. And I think this change is not made because of esports. Because I think that the tournament organizers have done an all right job at factoring in ties into their tournament structure. But from a playing perspective on the ladder, it just really it is really negative when you put all this time into a match and you get nothing. You just tie. And for some reason, it's 100% a psychological thing. It feels worse than losing. Because it's like, I don't know why. I have no logical explanation for this, but it just feels worse than losing somehow.
Well, the one thing I'll say to that is I don't know anybody else that feels that way.
I mean,
and I
could just
at least
I also
right,
hate
and it could
the
just
new
be
Zelda
the
game too. So
it could just be the new, or it could just be my team right now doesn't care, and it's more of a problem now than it's been in the past. So I wouldn't have noticed if my other teams would have tilted about it. But there's times drawing feels good. Like if you get crushed on attack, right, and then you manage to come back and hold on defense, like I feel good about that game. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like Hanamura is not the easiest map to attack, so what? We got held. And it doesn't bother me. I think this happens entirely because of esports. It's very easy for me to reconcile myself with a draw on ladder. I don't lose anything. It's a net positive. I gain points towards a golden gun. That's not why I'm there, but it's a consolation prize. I didn't win. I don't deserve anything really. Right. So anything I get's a bonus. But from an esports perspective, I really, really hate deciding who the better team is on Temple of Anubis by going to a best of one on Ilios. I can't think of a less, common sense or less intuitive way to end that.
Right.
And it drives me nuts watching it. So, I mean, there's nothing but upside. Like, not to take away from your point where it should happen less in ladder, because it should. I feel like the drive behind it is the spectator's perspective, which is why I don't think this iteration of it will stick. What I would propose is just to have it matter at ticks. See if that's still too much.
Yeah.
If we get 1 tick and you get 2 ticks, you win. Fine. But like we were talking about a little before the show, there's strategy to, my team got picked when we were holding forward at the choke point. So we all back up behind the point. We allow the opposing team onto it, and then we attack it and take it back.
Right.
There's strategy to that, and there's giving them that time using it. I don't want to see that go away.
Right. Where now it like almost always incentivizes you to just ring out as much percent as possible without actually trying to have a concerted push forward. It's just
right.
Get as much percent as you can at whatever cost, because that 1% matters.
Right. You're turning every capture point taken into like a little mini Koth point, and it's weird and
awful. So for what it's worth, it is on PTR. It's not confirmed yet, and I think this is a mentality that makes sense. You overdo it. So this is about as far pushed as it could possibly be in terms of getting rid of ties, right? Like there's not, I can't think of off the top of my head a more extreme way to keep track of the progress in terms of eliminating ties. So what you want to do conceptually is you want to overdo it as much as possible so that if this is too much, it's like, okay, then we go back to ticks. However, if it's like, if they do ticks and it's not enough, or they're unsure if it's enough, it's like, well, do we go to the maximum now? And then maybe that's too much and there's something in the middle. I don't know. I don't know. I could see like, I think it makes sense to push the bound and see where it works. Cause like if that boundary works, then it's like, okay. But I do agree that it probably is too much, or at least like, maybe they put a clause in there where like you have to be on the point for at least X number of seconds. Because I do agree.
It's not there now.
I know it's not there, but I'm just saying like maybe that's something they could do to tone it down, but not go all the way down to ticks.
Yeah.
But it is pretty bad because there's no, when you need to get that like 1%, there's no actual tug of war. It's just like, oh, I touched it, game.
Yeah,
which is
and it's that fast.
It's unfun. It's unexciting. It's not fun to watch. It's not even like, it would be mildly interesting if it, like the time you had was representative of it. So like you had to, I don't know. It wouldn't even. I'm just thinking of like it would be kind of interesting if it was like at the last second you like dove and it went into slow motion and you're like, you have your hand out extended as far as it can and you have to like zoom in and see, did their fingers cross the line into the point? If they do, they won. If they didn't, they lost. But it's not like that at all. It's just like, oh, I got it. Okay, game. It's like this huge long match that literally was a stalemate is ended in 24 seconds because of a Sombra. Couldn't even have been prevented at all. It's pretty awful.
And I couldn't have seen this coming, so I don't want to pretend like, oh, I knew it was going to screw up tiebreakers on 2CP maps.
How dare you not see this
I
coming?
mean, this sort of thing is why I don't like stealth heroes and why I was so against what Sombra turned out to be. And she turned out to be more of a halfway between what I was initially hoping she'd be and then what I thought she was when they announced her and I looked at her kit. You know, she's definitely more of a supporty DPS character. She's not really a high damage assassin coming out of stealth, which is great. But this is why I just don't like stealth as a mechanic in games like this, because it would be less of an issue if like you had to like watch the Soldier 76 run at the point, like run past your whole team, go to the point, and then you could just like beat him there. Just, okay, he's going, like we have to get on it. That would be fine to me. It would be at least more understandable. But for it to be literally invisible or also frustrating but more understandable would be like, it's Eichenwald. Like the Pharah can get to your point without you ever seeing her and just fly around the back. So those are the two characters that really create a bit of a problem. I guess Tracer too. Like if you triple blink, you're invisible almost the whole way through it, right? Like,
right, but
there's not really a reaction time.
I guess no.
You probably get like a frame of her in between each jump,
right?
But it's not enough to react to it, you know.
It's still just bad because you just need to like touch it. Like it's not even so like if it touched it and then it cued like your point's being captured, defend, and like
you have 5 seconds, like
right, something like that where it like triggered an end game sequence or something like and that could be quick too. That's fine, like, but it has to be something that's not like oop, touch it, game.
It's the round ends before you press tab and can see the other team's lineup on the top, like on the score screen. Like the round's already over. You don't know what they are because you've already lost. So yeah, it's a little too disjointed right now, and I'm hoping they do a little something to it. I don't know. I haven't been on the PTR since they added in this change, so I don't know if they turned on ranked. I'm assuming they had to, because last I saw it was quick play only. Like for Orisa when she came out, there was no ranked mode. You couldn't do that. You couldn't make a custom game. They weren't testing the game browser. It was already out. So it was like just quick play. So clearly they've turned something on for somebody to have this video. And I haven't messed with it personally to know, how it feels. I'm guessing it's not super terrible to play against, though a bit frustrating. But I don't know how much should you be rewarded? How much leeway should you get if you literally capture 0% on 0.1 of a map? Like,
Right.
You don't deserve too much leeway. So from a playing perspective, I don't mind it near as much as watching.
Right. And I think that you sum it up perfectly. I don't know what the answer to it is, but from a gameplay perspective and from a conceptual perspective, like, really not too much of an argument to be made against it. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And the logic behind it is there. Can't argue that, but still feels bad, man.
Yeah, the one instance I've seen of it just looked awful. Like if that happened in the middle of a tournament, I would feel like it would be a bad experience for the viewer. But we'll see if it plays out. I mean, if it's just so corner case that almost never happens, and it becomes like a shame moment, like you got beat by the stealth hero, because you didn't pay attention, and it could be played off that way. But I don't get the if it happens with any frequency whatsoever, somebody watching their first Overwatch tournament in the first round sees that happen, they're going to go, what? And you don't ever want that person to have that feeling of like, I have no idea what just happened. Like that, you should be striving for transparency and clarity and understanding being possible from watching.
100% agree. But let's move right along. We also did have a couple other changes to the PTR. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Lucio?
Yeah,
Lucio Burf.
Definitely burfing the heck out of Lucio in this patch. Like, I haven't seen a burf like this, and I don't even know how long.
It's been quite a while.
Buff/nerf for anybody that misses the last time we used the term burf.
Quite some time.
Drastic changes. Bear with me here. I'm going to try to make sure you understand what all of it means, because reading it through or first glance at the patch notes, I think, Blevins messed it up. My team messed it up. I messed it up. There's a lot going on here. Sonic Amplifier, that is the wub-wubs, as I like to call them, the shots, the left click, is projectile speed has been increased from 40 to 50. They didn't put a quantifier on that, so I guess it's just relative. They're going a little faster.
I think they used to go that fast.
The alternate fire now considers vertical orientation when knocking targets back. What I think that means is that if I'm booping another Lucio and he's wall riding, okay, it's going to send him farther, right? Because it's going to see, like,
he's up.
Think of like hitting a golf ball or something like that. Like the angle on the club matters a lot for the trajectory. So it's going to change the way and give you a little bit more powerful, I'm guessing, of a boop.
Yeah. One thing I saw on Reddit is that you can boop up a siege mode Bastion.
Yes, I did hear that that's possible. I haven't seen it for myself.
The Bastion was on the payload, and Lucio on Eichenwald on the bridge part right before the castle, and booped him up and off the edge. It was great.
It definitely sounds pretty awesome. We'll have to wait and see. Again, we haven't really seen Bastion take over, but at least for playing sake, it'll definitely be something to consider. The crossfade, that is both auras, the healing and the speed. The song's area of effect radius has gone from 30 meters to 10 meters. That is 1/3 of the area of effect for all of the
part
auras.
of the burf.
Yes, this is the nerf. No longer we've talked about how he's just globally increasing the speed of the entire team. You don't do that anymore. If your Genji's off on the side, if your Reaper's off on the side, they're not getting affected by this. Your Winston will dive out of the effect of this easily as a temporary, little effort to help everybody understand what's going on. There's a little in-game visual that's been added to illustrate this radius. This is only visible to Lucio and his teammates. To compensate for that, because it's a burf, it's not a nerf, the healing song now does 50% increased healing. This also applies to Lucio's Amp It Up ability. So significantly more, 150% of the healing that he was doing now on live will be done, but to 1/3 of the distance. So death ball comps are going to still love Lucio. You're still going to see that a lot. We'll talk a little bit after this about what I think it's going to do to him in solo queue, though. The healing song, we just did that. Sound barrier, the radius decreased from 30 meters to 20 meters. Sound barrier is the ultimate. So it's a little harder to hit your ultimate and have it affect everybody. You've got a tight group a little bit better.
Nice.
Wall riding, the movement speed increased by 30% while wall riding. He also receives a burst of speed when leaping off of a wall.
Awesome.
Super cool, right? Like playing Lucio is going to be more fun.
Yes.
So very positive change there. Playing Lucio is also in at least maybe not a lot, but in many scenarios going to be significantly less powerful. Also a very positive change.
Yeah.
I really think, it's going to be the thing where when you're, your soldier, your McCree, you're running like a 2 hit scan DPS comp with 2 tanks, 2-2-2. Lucio's going to be great, almost better than he was before. Like that, he's going to be buffed. If you're running dive comp and you've got a Tracer and a Genji and a Winston, he's garbage tier. I don't think you're going to want to play him. He's not doing near enough, as fun as it might be to have the extra move speed when you're bouncing around doing all these things. It's not going to be good enough. Your team's going to be dashing and teleporting
Dancing.
and all these things.
Prancing.
Can't have it. It's not going to be worth doing. In quick play, don't do it. Your team's not going to group up around you enough. I don't think he's going to be very viable in quick play. It will be great for the people that are smart enough to go, I need healing. Where's my rollerblading DJ?
No one's ever picking Lucio in a quick play anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely Lucio mains IRL and stuff like that will continue to play him forever, no matter what. But personally, I'm not going to play him in even solo queue comp unless the team specifically asks for him. Then I might go to him because they should know what they're asking for, right? They're asking to run to and follow their Lucio all around.
Yeah.
And when I'm 6 stacking, love it. It's going to be great. If we're not running dive comp, we're still definitely going to run Lucio.
He's gonna be
all in
better.
all, I think the change is very good. I think I heard some pros talking. I can't remember who it was. Like, what do you think's going to happen with Lucio? He's going to be OP. He's going to be ridiculous. Like, no, I don't think that's true at all. He's going to be much more situational. He's going to always be pretty good, right? I mean, like, if you're on a coordinated team at the top end of queuing, maybe he might be a little broken. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't get that impression because dive comp is so strong right now, and I don't see that changing just because you now go like Anna Lucio for your healer or Anna Zen for your healers instead of Lucio Zen or Anna Lucio. I don't think it's going to be much of a problem, and I don't think it's going to be enough of a change to bring something like dive comp out. All in all, we've talked about how do you make Lucio not an auto pick anymore. I think they found a really happy medium. Like, make Lucio players pretty happy with the changes. It's going to be super fun. They're going to be really happy, and then at the same time, they're not going to play him as much. So. Yeah, I think this is a great change all in all, and one I'm very much so looking forward to seeing, especially since it might mean I don't have to play Lucio as much.
Yeah, it seems like they took a lot of the old Lucio, like old Lucio, like the projectile speed, the healing. I don't think it was this high, but it was pretty close. A couple other things that were on old Lucio back when he was just super broken. Like, let's be honest, he was just amazing. But
they do mention that a little bit in the developer comments there too. How in the past they tried to balance him by changing all his other abilities, but the auras were the problem. Who knew? It's like they listened to High Noon podcast.
Right. It's literally just the speed aura that matters. That's the only thing that matters. Or you could take away his ability to deal damage, and he will still be picked.
Still want him sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly.
So they said, if we're going to take away the auras and we're going to, nerf that down, we have to give something back. And I think they're 100% correct to make the aura changes and not give him the rest, or to not make as drastic of aura changes. Probably wouldn't do much. We've seen them do some drastic things to Lucio, not game changing, kit changing like this is, but they've nerfed him significantly. But as long as he was still able to just be in green mode and press E, then everybody was going to play him anyways.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most elegant and also probably really just positive changes to the game that has happened in a long time.
Yeah. So we should see that tomorrow, I'm guessing. The Lucio buff might not make it in right away. We don't have definitive word on that. It was patched not too long ago, but I don't think they're going to have too many more. Like, if they're going to release a new hero tomorrow, which they are, or yesterday, if you're listening on podcast land, then you're not going to see people playing on PTR for any reason whatsoever. Like, they're not going to go, oh, Lucio's different. Like, I'm going to go over there. It's not going to happen.
They'll probably take down the PTR.
Yeah, so, but I mean, if they wouldn't, if there was this Lucio change still needing testing or something like that. So it's possible they don't, but I don't think they're going to get any good data mined after they release Orisa for a couple of weeks anyways. Yeah. And I don't think they want to sit on this for super long. So I do expect it to be out tomorrow, and we'll have to wait and see exactly how things change, because just some other things to remember, things that are going to happen tomorrow/yesterday. For all you guys, Winston's shield is getting buffed. The cooldown starts when you drop it, not when it runs out.
Unnerved.
Right, yeah, they're undoing the previously uncalled for nerf. Yeah, beta 2. Zen Altfire is being buffed to no longer have spread, and you recover from it faster. So you can go on orbing and shooting left-click style again after a right-click significantly faster. Sombra will have indicators for her whole team as to where hacked health packs are. Translocate's cooldown has been reduced from 6 to 4 seconds. So Sombra is getting better, Zen is getting better, Winston is getting better, and there's a new hero.
Yeah, something like that.
I think there might be. I don't know. It's not important. It won't matter.
Okay, so 15 second prediction: is Orisa going to make it into the meta? Yes or no?
Yes, has to, because she defends really well against dive comp, which is super good, and I think she just does such a good job of protecting your supports. If Anna's going to stay viable, it's not going to be because she's able to protect herself anymore, because her damage is being nerfed. She needs help to do it. Her healing is going to be fine still. It's just her damage output that's being nerfed. So Orisa stands there. I think Zen and Anna are going to be a healing combo, and Orisa is going to be phenomenal standing right in between them.
Nice. Yeah, I think I might become an Orisa main this week.
You and everybody else.
Yep.
But the one thing that they have over you is that they actually play Overwatch.
I'm not getting a Shane Bell next week. I'm going to play him.
We'll see. I want 10 placement games done, or I'm going to hack into your computer and Shane Bell for you while we're recording.
True. If I don't have my 10 placement matches done, I'm Shane Belling myself. I'm holding myself to it.
Every week from here on out until you're diamond.
Shame.
I'm Shane Belling myself right now.
Shame.
Just remember, guys, this is the season he's making his serious diamond push.
I don't know if I made that claim. I probably did.
Yeah, you did.
This is the point where someone would insert the clip, but it's not going to be me.
I don't need to find it because I remember it in my brain.
Exactly. So last thing we want to talk about real quick was the match of the week.
Yes, there's actually a match worth sending you guys to watch and check out. And it can be either one of the two times Selfless versus Rogue happened during Alienware, the finals. Both of them went to 5. However, the finals, you have a 1-game advantage to the team that advanced from the winner's bracket, which was Rogue, who won. So the other one went to 5. They played all 5. These two teams are very close to each other, very clearly at the top of the NA scene, and definitely teams you need to be checking out. In fact, I'm going to be making my team watch some of that match, because we need to figure out how to play dive comp on defense, because I don't understand how they do it. It doesn't make any sense. How do you live without your Reinhardt? We need to know. I recommend.
Don't ask Reinforce, because he'll be sad.
I won't do that, partially because I don't want to make him sad, and partially because I don't understand the joke you're making.
Because he always plays Reinhardt exclusively.
Yeah.
As well as Super.
Yes.
But that's going to be it, guys. We got everything we wanted into. I thought that this was going to be a way shorter show, but as always, we make it to time, no matter what. But any last second, any last minute stuff? Death, anything you want to throw in there at the end?
No, nothing. As always, you can find information about the show and both of the hosts, Blevins and myself. You can find it over at highnoonpodcast.com. There is a host page with all of our personal contact information, as well as the main page has links to everything that is all in all, show oriented, like our show Twitter and stuff like that. Soon to be our show Twitch channel, which will be twitch.tv/highnoonpodcast. We're not going to start using it quite yet, but by all means, feel free to go over there, follow it, and let us know you would watch if we streamed over there.
Yeah. So All that stuff is correct, highnoonpodcast.com. You can always check us out on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Guys, leave us an iTunes review. Super need that. Huge thanks to Matt Chirino as well as Adam Hoek, who produced our outro music, which you're about to hear in just a second. Huge thanks, as always, to the patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/highnoonpodcast, and let's meet up at BlizzCon. But, guys, for Deathblow, I am the Blevins, and remember, it's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now guides my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
BlizzCon, BlizzCon, let's all go to BlizzCon.